What did ancient women do without boyfriends? No dating apps? No texting? No talking stage. So how did they survive without romance? The answer might surprise you completely. First, understand something important. The word boyfriend didn't even exist. Not in Rome, not in Egypt, not anywhere. Romantic dating is actually a modern invention. Ancient women simply lived differently. Let's go back 6,000 years. In Mesopotamia, marriage was a business deal. Fathers arranged unions for land and status. Love wasn't the goal at all. Companionship came from somewhere else entirely. It came from other women. Mothers, sisters, aunts, and cousins. Ancient households were packed with family. Privacy barely existed back then. You were never truly alone. Loneliness wasn't the crisis it is today. Now let's talk about ancient Egypt. Egyptian women had shocking independence. They could own property outright. They could run businesses freely. They could even initiate divorce. A husband was not financial security. Women often supported themselves completely. Some worked as brewers and weavers. Others managed temple estates directly. A boyfriend wasn't necessary for survival. Community and skill were the real safety net. Now, travel to ancient Sparta. Spartan women trained like warriors. They wrestled, ran, and competed publicly. Marriage happened, but women stayed strong. Physical strength gave them serious respect. Spartan wives even owned land themselves. Athens next door was very different. Athenian women were mostly confined indoors. They rarely left the house alone. Yet even there, something interesting happened. Women built tight female friend circles. They gathered at wells and markets. Gossip, laughter, and support flowed freely. These bonds replaced modern dating completely. Now let's look at ancient China. Many women formed sworn sisterhoods. These were formal, lifelong female bonds. Some sisterhoods even rejected marriage entirely. In parts of southern China this happened. Groups of women lived together for life. They worked silk trades side by side. Romantic partners weren't part of the plan. Sisterhood was their true life partnership. This system actually had a name. Historians call it marriage resistance. Yes, ancient women resisted marriage sometimes. It wasn't always forced or accepted. Now consider religious life across cultures. Rome had the famous Vestal Virgin. These women served the goddess Vesta. They lived together in a sacred house. Marriage was completely off the table. Instead, they held enormous public power. People bowed to them in the streets. Their word could even pardon prisoners. No boyfriend could offer that kind of status. Devotion to duty replaced romantic love. Medieval Europe had a similar path. Convents welcomed unmarried women warmly. Inside, women became scholars and healers. Some became powerful abbesses instead. They managed land, money, and monks. Convent life offered education too. Many women couldn't read outside those walls. Inside, they studied science and philosophy. A convent wasn't just religious escape. It was often true independence. Now let's discuss widows specifically. Ancient widowhood wasn't always tragic. In many places, widows gained power. They controlled inheritance and household decisions. Roman widows could remarry or refuse. Refusing was sometimes the smarter choice. Widowhood meant legal freedom for many. No husband meant no male control. Some widows became wealthy merchants alone. Others ran entire family estates solo. Being single wasn't automatically pitiful. It could actually mean opportunity. Now think about daily female friendship. Ancient women didn't need texting apps. They had marketplaces and communal wealth. Every trip became a social event. Grinding grain was often done together. Weaving rooms buzzed with conversation daily. These weren't chores, they were bonding time. Emotional support came from these circles. A single friend group replaced modern dating entirely. Now let's look at India's joint family. Ancient Indian women lived with extended relatives. Sisters-in-law became close lifelong friends. Mothers-in-law offered guidance and structure. Multiple generations shared one large home. No one faced life truly isolated. Support systems were built into daily life. Romantic partnership wasn't the emotional center. Family duty and loyalty took priority instead. Now consider something surprising, female rulers. Many ancient queens ruled without husbands. Hatshepsut of Egypt ruled as pharaoh. She didn't need a king beside her. Her identity was built on power, not romance. Boudica led armies after her husband died. Grief became fuel, not helplessness. These women prove independence was possible, even in brutally patriarchal society. Now let's talk about work itself. Ancient women often had real careers. Midwives held essential community respect. Healers were trusted more than doctors sometimes. Priestesses guided entire cities spiritually. Merchant women traded goods across regions. Work gave women purpose beyond marriage. Purpose filled the space romance fills today. Now here's something people forget completely. Romantic love as we know it is new. The concept grew during medieval courtly love. Knights wrote poems for noble ladies, but this applied to almost nobody. Regular women never expected romantic fantasy. Marriage was survival, not butterflies. So the absence of boyfriends wasn't a gap. It simply wasn't part of the equation. Now think about emotional intimacy differently. Ancient women confided in other women deeply. Letters between female friends have survived centuries. Some read astonishingly intimate and loving. Historians still debate their exact meaning, but the emotional bond is undeniable. Female friendship carried enormous emotional weight. It wasn't a replacement, it was the standard. Now let's discuss physical safety concerns. Wasn't life dangerous without a male partner? Often, yes, danger was real everywhere, but protection came from groups, not individuals. Villages protected their own collective. Extended family enforced safety and justice. A boyfriend wasn't a security system. Community reputation and family honor. Now consider matchmaking versus dating. Ancient women rarely chose partners themselves. Parents and matchmakers arranged unions instead. This removed pressure to constantly find someone. There was no anxiety about being single. Marriage happened on a schedule, not romance. Until then, women simply lived their lives. Waiting wasn't lonely, it was expected. Now let's explore something rarely discussed. Same-sex companionship existed throughout history. Ancient Greek poetry hints at this openly. Sappho wrote passionate poems to women. Her island, Lesbos, gave us a modern word. These relationships weren't hidden shamefully. In some contexts, they were openly celebrated. Female love took many different forms. Not every bond fit modern labels. Now think about elder women's status. Aging wasn't feared the way it is now. Older women became respected matriarchs instead. Grandmothers held authority over entire households. Their wisdom was considered priceless. Youth and romance weren't the ultimate goal. Respect grew as women aged, not shrank. This flipped modern beauty standards completely. Now let's examine ancient Rome more closely. Roman law technically favored men heavily, yet wealthy Roman women found loopholes. Some managed businesses through male relatives. Others controlled dowries with surprising power. Divorce was actually fairly common in Rome. Women could leave unhappy marriages sometimes. Independence existed, just wrapped in legal disguise. Now think about female education secretly. Some ancient women learned to read anyway. Aristocratic girls sometimes studied philosophy quietly. Knowledge became its own form of companionship. Books and scrolls offered mental escape. Intellectual life filled emotional gaps too. A mind kept busy felt less alone. Now let's return to daily emotional survival. How did they handle heartbreak without dating? Grief over lost family replaced breakup pain. Death was more common than rejection. Emotional resilience was built differently back then. Survival itself required constant mental strength. There was little time for romantic despair. Now consider something modern people forget. Ancient life expectancy was much shorter. Many women married very young by necessity. Childhood, dating, and courtship barely overlap. Adult responsibilities began almost immediately. There simply wasn't a single year's phase. Life moved straight into duty and survival. Now let's talk about female-only spaces. Ancient cultures often had women's quarters. The harem, the gynoecium, the zenana. These spaces get a bad reputation today. But inside, women built entire social worlds. Music, storytelling, and friendship thrived there. Isolation from men didn't mean isolation entirely. It often meant deep female connection instead. Now, think about goddess worship specifically. Many ancient religions centered female deities: Isis, Inanna, Athena, and countless others. Worshipping powerful women shaped female identity. Divinity itself didn't require a male partner. Goddesses ruled love, war, and wisdom alone. This reflected real women's inner strength. Now let's discuss economic independence directly. Some ancient women ran trade networks. Textile production was often female-led entirely. Beer brewing in Mesopotamia was women's work. Alewives controlled entire local economy. Money brought freedom, even without marriage. Financial power reduced the need for men. Now consider storytelling as emotional connection. Oral tradition passed through female generations. Grandmothers told stories around evening fires. These stories built identity and belonging. Entertainment didn't require romantic partnership. Community storytelling filled emotional and social needs. Now let's talk about female warriors briefly. Some ancient societies had fighting women. Scythian women rode and fought like men. Historians believe they inspired Amazon legends. These women needed no protector at all. Strength itself became their form of security. Now think about practical daily partnership. Sisters often replaced the role of spouses. Two unmarried sisters might share a home. They split labor, cooking, and finances together. This wasn't unusual or shameful back then, it was simply practical cooperation. Now let's examine ancient friendship rituals. Some cultures had formal friendship ceremonies. Women could become sworn friends for life. These bonds were taken extremely seriously. Breaking one was considered deeply dishonorable. Friendship carried the weight marriage carries today. Now consider mourning and female solidarity. Funerals were led largely by women. Professional mourners were often female specialists. Grief became a shared communal experience. No one processed loss completely alone. Emotional support systems were built into ritual. Now let's talk about childbirth and bond. Midwifery created powerful female alliances. Women supported each other through childbirth fear. This shared experience built lifelong trust. Men were often excluded from this space. Female solidarity peaked during these moments. Now think about property and inheritance rules. Some ancient cultures allowed female inheritance. Egyptian daughters could inherit alongside sons. This financial security reduced marriage pressure. A woman with land needed no rescue. Independence was sometimes written into law itself. Now let's discuss the concept of choice. Did ancient women want boyfriends at all? Many simply never imagined that concept. You can't miss something you never conceived of. Their emotional world was built around family. Modern romantic expectations didn't apply whatsoever. Now consider how identity was formed differently. A woman's worth wasn't tied to romance. It was tied to skill, family, and duty. Being single wasn't even a real category. You were a daughter, sister, or widow instead. Roles gave structure that dating never offered. Now let's look at the Vikings briefly. Norse women had surprising legal rights. They could own land and run farms. Husbands often sailed away for months. Wives ran entire households completely alone. Some Viking women even carried weapons. Graves have been found with female warriors. Independence wasn't rare. It was expected. A man's absence simply meant more power. Now consider Native American societies too. Many tribes were matrilineal by tradition. Property passed through mothers, not fathers. Iroquois women chose and removed chiefs. Clan mothers held enormous political authority. Marriage didn't define a woman's status there. Her bloodline and clan defined it instead. Now let's travel to ancient Africa. Queen Nzinga ruled without needing a king. She led armies and negotiated treaties herself. Her power came from strategy, not romance. Many African kingdoms had female chiefs too. Marriage was political, rarely emotional necessity. Now think about Ottoman-era women briefly. The harem is often misunderstood completely. It was a complex female power structure. Mothers of sultans held massive political influence. Women schemed, negotiated, and ruled from within. Romance was almost irrelevant to their power. Now let's discuss ancient Japan quickly. Heian-era women created stunning literature. Lady Murasaki wrote one of the first novels. Female writers shaped an entire cultural era. Their creativity became a form of legacy. No boyfriend was needed for immortality like that. Now, consider philosophy for a moment. Some ancient thinkers praised the single life. Certain Stoic women valued self-control over romance. Emotional independence was seen as true strength. Needing no one was considered admirable. This idea feels strangely modern, doesn't it? Now let's think about time itself. Ancient days were filled with constant labor. Fetching water, grinding grain, weaving cloth. There was little free time for long. Busy hands often meant a quieter mind. Loneliness needs stillness, and stillness was rare. Now consider how news and gossip traveled. Women were often the community's information network. Markets buzzed with stories and updates daily. This constant exchange created strong social glue. No one felt truly disconnected from others. Now, let's discuss celebration and festival. Ancient calendars were packed with communal events. Harvest festivals brought entire villages together. Women danced, sang, and celebrated as groups. Joy wasn't tied to a romantic partner. It was tied to community and season. Now think about mentorship between women. Older women trained younger girls in skill. Cooking, weaving, healing, all passed down directly. This mentorship created deep respect and closeness. Purpose was handed down generation to generation. Now let's bring this into final perspective. Ancient women weren't lonely without boyfriends. They were surrounded by people constantly. Family, friends, sisters, and community filled that space. Romantic love simply wasn't life's foundation. Purpose, duty, and connection were the foundation instead. Modern dating culture is actually the strange outlier. For most of history, humans lived collectively. Individual romance is a relatively recent focus, so maybe the real question shifts here. Not how did they survive without boyfriends, but why do we feel we can't? Ancient women found strength in sisterhood. They found purpose in work and duty. They found comfort in multi-generational home. They found power in independence when possible. And they found love in many different forms. Not every bond needs a romantic label. Maybe connection matters more than the category. And maybe humans always find their people, with or without a boyfriend by their side. So, what do you think now? Could you have lived like they did? Let us know in the comments below. And if this fascinated you, subscribe for more.